together. They will make war on the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those with him are called and chosen and faithful. Um, let's read. Then one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who is seated on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of whose sexual immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk." Malachi, it's your turn. Can't see. Do you see where the cursor is?
And he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on the scarlet beast that was full of
blasphemous.
names, and it has 7 heads and 10 horns.
No, no se ve que points para todas las cosas Joseph putting in a hand on abomination and activities sexual moralities.
Jorge was looking at me on the street along the other houses that are about me.
And I saw the woman drunk with the brothers, the blood of the mothers of this.
When I saw her, I marveled greatly.
Why do you marvel? I will
You can
tell
stop there.
What?
You can stop at the question mark.
I'll tell you the street of woman and of the beast, with 7 heads and 10 horns that carries them.
The beast that you saw was not having the authorized powers when it comes to destruction.
And the dwellers on earth whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world go on to see the beast, because there was and is not and is to come.
This calls for mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. There are also 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen. One is, the other has not yet come, and when he does come, he must remain only a little while.
As for the beast that was and is not, it is an 8, but it's belong to the 7, and it goes to the destructions.
Then testifying that you saw intentions and I see with power by power to receive authority as kings for 1 hour together with the beast.
These are of mine, and they have no greater power and authority to the beast.
For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those with him are called chosen.
And the angel said to me, "The waters that you saw where the prostitute is seated are peoples and multitudes and nations and languages."
And the 10 horns that you saw, they are the beast will hate the multitudes.
They will make her desolate and they can devour her flesh and bring up the fire. The God has put into their hearts of day that is wicked, by being of one mind heavenly over the world, cross the beast until the words of God have performed.
And that you saw the great city that has dominion over the kingdom of kings.
Daniel, this is your first time reading it, right? Joshua and Isaiah, do you guys think you understand the passage?
Yeah.
Joshua?
I guess for the most part, like the 3 parts.
3 parts?
Yeah, like this chapter could be divided up into 2.
How would you divide it?
Probably first is like Revelation John meets the beast, and then it's talking talks, and then the second one is like the angel. Uh, he explains it to Jan, and then I guess the third is like the resolution. So what like the purpose is.
Okay. Um, yeah, you could divide it into 3 parts, or even 2 parts, or 4. I have 4, but it's basically 2. What John sees and the angel's explanation. Alright, this is connected to the previous passage since there's a mention of 7 bowls. One of those angels wants to show John something. There's a lot of words here. I will show you the judgment of this person who this and that and that. What do you think this symbolically depicts? Joshua?
The state of the world that that God wants like John to understand. Like they said, a lot of symbolism of this, like in how talks about like the wine, and, like the other symbols.
It was a little difficult to hear. Could you repeat the beginning?
Or like talks about what like the state of the world that God wants John to like understand through all the symbolism and imagery.
Yeah, what part of this is symbolic and what does it mean?
Like the wine was a lot like the bloodshed, like the prophets like they're suffering, I guess.
Yeah, so you remember that. That's mentioned in the next part. What else, Isaiah?
Um, well, I think like the part after the great prostitute, like if you look at it symbolically, then it's talking about like how like she's allied with a lot of kings of the earth. So Babylon is like a very um, strong kingdom.
Yeah, in the related scene that comes next, she's called Babylon. This one, yeah, it could be Babylon, Rome, any power. Malachi, I think it's important, I know you're just a kid, but it's important to know how to pronounce this word. It's prostitute. And it's not a nice word, but it's important to know how it's pronounced because there was, when I was young, someone called me a prostitute, but what she really meant was Protestant, which is a very different word. So it's important to know how to pronounce correctly. A Protestant is a denomination of Christianity. What's a prostitute, Daniel?
Like a woman that does sexual, like I guess like work.
Is it a neutral term? Yeah, you're right, but is it a neutral term?
No.
So what is a neutral term? A synonym that is not insulting.
Worker.
Worker? Just worker? maybe just sex worker is a neutral term. Why is this insulting? Well, because back then, usually they're slaves. They were forced into the work by a pimp and then forced to do it. So they're obviously low class, and of course there are so many colorful words for low class people, and especially for those whose bodies are just treated like nothing. Like, isn't it Jack the Ripper or some other serial killer that was killing, yeah, you could call that prostitute, because nobody cared that he was killing them until finally he killed a woman of higher status, and then people cared. So it's an insult, right? So why is it used here? It's intentional. What do you think, Joshua?
To symbolize sin.
Can you explain more?
Like it's like talking about like saying like how bad like sin is. He's like alliterating the statement of bringing judgment at some time.
Yeah, and another element we could add to it is most people think Rome is great. People marvel at the beast. Yeah, even today people glorify the Roman Empire. They want to imagine that life would have been better if men were allowed to do whatever like they did in the Roman Empire. But no, this insulting, denigrating term shows, no, it's not that powerful and glorious, it's demeaning. So, some people use the Bible to justify using insulting terms. Revelation, unfortunately, is used to justify a lot of insulting words and say, well, I'm just repeating what the Bible says. But I think in thinking about why it's used is important. So no, we don't go around calling women prostitutes if we think they're loose or whatever. But it's used here intentionally. So I think we covered the other things. She's powerful, yes, and connected with these kings. Let's keep going. You notice that there's a scene change. So the angel says, come, I'm going to show you the judgment of this person. And then I'm carried away into the wilderness. Why the wilderness? Maybe that's a place to receive visions. Maybe it's foreshadowing what will happen to Babylon. It was this once great kingdom, but then it becomes desolate, just like the wilderness is desolate. So it could be foreshadowing what will happen to this great city/kingdom. Also could be contrast with, who else do we find in the wilderness? Some woman earlier in Revelation. Isaiah.
Mother of the baby.
Yeah, and there is also a similar description, right, of how she appeared and she was chased by a beast, well, dragon. So there's some contrast here. So the wilderness could bring that character to mind. So we have here a new one, a different woman in the wilderness, and there's this long description of the beast and the woman. And John's depiction of the empire, we already know the woman is the empire, so there's no spoilers there. John's depiction is very different from how the empire likes to depict itself, especially through coins, murals, statues. So taking a quick break from the text, looking at this coin, what do you see?
Food. I think it's like bread.
Are you talking about the lumps?
Like
There are 7 hills. What else do you see? Or instead of what do you see, I'll just describe. So you have 7 hills. At the bottom you have a wolf, probably recalling the story of Romulus and Remus, where the founders of Rome were once abandoned but raised by wolves, which shows their character. We see a sword, a helmet, and on the other side, according to the description I heard, the person's foot across from it is the Tiber River. So we have something kind of similar to the description here of a woman seated on many waters. It's a little different, I know, but this picture though, it conjures a image of Rome as sober, strong, ready for battle, having control over the sea. But what do you have instead in the text? All right, let's start with the bottom. It says, I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints. We talked about the blood of the saints. The empire is persecuting Christians, but drunkenness itself, what kind of image is John portraying? Is it so obvious, or you're not in control? A buffoon? People who can't control their drink are not in control, like this person who's, sober, militant, ready for action. A drunk person holding a cup, and it's not full of good stuff, but sewage water, full of abominations and impurities. So a nasty cup, and on top of that she's drinking the blood of martyrs. So that's kind of mockery of the power that the empire claims to have. So bloodthirsty. What else? What about this, the clothing and accessories? What do you think it's conveying? Daniel?
I guess pride.
Yeah, could be pride. There are times when it's appropriate to be dressed to the nines, to be really decked out. But when you have this other description of excessiveness, drunkenness, it kind of gives the impression of being gaudy. And where did she get this stuff? Maybe from her lovers. Also, why is she decked out? To probably attract more clients. So none of this is good. It's portraying Rome in quite a terrible way. So materialism, pride, all of these, and not virtuous, but full of vices, immoral abominations. That is the true character of Rome as portrayed in this vision. This is something to review. The woman sitting on a scarlet beast full of blasphemous names. What's a blasphemous name, Joshua?
guess like something like that inappropriately like represents like something else that you shouldn't like use without discretion.
Yeah. Can you name an example, Isaiah?
Like claiming to be God.
Yeah. God, Son of God, King of Kings, Victor. Any of the titles that God might claim for himself is the beast is full of it. Okay, I think we got that. Let's move on. John marveled greatly. Do you know what marveling is, Malachi?
No.
Daniel?
Astonished.
Yeah. Could be surprised, impressed, amazed. Do you know those words, Malachi? Amazed? I was amazed. Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
Okay. So John was amazed. Why do you think John might have been amazed at what he saw? Isaiah?
Um, Maybe he's like amazed at the beast's power.
Yeah? Power. What other quality? Daniel?
Like the appearances.
Hmm?
Appearance.
He's amazed at the appearance.
How like I guess interview.
That could be part of it. Yeah, marvel is a maybe ambiguous term. It could be positive, it could be negative. Joshua?
Maybe like he's like in disbelief how simple it is.
Yeah, that could be it. For the angel says, "Do not. Why do you marvel? Let me explain. I'll tell you the mystery." It's clear, I'll answer the second question, that the earth dwellers marvel not just because their names are not written in the book of life. The explanation is because the beast is, was, is not, and is to come. What does that expression mean? The beast was and is not and is to come. Joshua, do you know?
Maybe like just the literal meaning part, like paradoxical, like the first two words are like saying that the beast, whatever he's going to, is not going to happen. But the last part is that it will.
So the beast probably died or is not in existence, however we explain that, is not, but will appear again. This sentence, the second sentence, says, even though it rises, it will go to destruction. But people marvel at the beast probably because as we mentioned before, in a similar passage, there was a mortal wound, but he somehow survived it. So he existed and then didn't exist and then came back. So that kind of is along the same lines of, power. Death cannot overcome him. He's able to overcome death like Jesus. So there's that parallel, but the angel explains, well, he's not going to stay alive forever. He's going to destruction. So the text says, this calls for a mind of wisdom. So what are we to learn from this description? Each part of the beast is given some explanation. The 7 heads represent mountains and kings. They could be, Rome is called the city on 7 hills. And 7 just could be a round number for 7 kings. I read in one commentary that the early period, pre-imperial Rome, would call its rulers, they had 7 kings, but they didn't call themselves kings, just 7 rulers. So it could refer to that, another part of Rome's history. But we already know what the 7 mountains represent, so the 7 kings just could refer to Roman kings, but not any specific ones. So there's a lot of ambiguity here, different opinions. But what's very clear is they will make war on the Lamb. That underlying part is pretty straightforward. What do you think John wants us to learn from all this?
They exist under the authority of God.
Yeah, it says in the passive, they are to receive authority as kings for 1 hour. Usually a passive without any expressed agent, usually is a divine passive. So God granted them authority for 1 hour, just 1 hour. Yeah, so that's there. God is in control. What else? I know it's been a while, but remember that there were 7 letters to 7 churches. Their condition, the message to them is all the same. Be faithful. But their situations were not identical. They're all facing different problems. They had different issues, qualities. Some of them we can relate to, some of them not really. So they might read this, we might read this and get different ideas. What could we learn?
The Lamb will conquer them.
So be frightened. Be on alert. How would you fill in the blank?
So like remain faithful.
For those who are experiencing a lot of persecution like Smyrna, it might be encouraging when it says, he must remain only a little while. Then 2 sentences down, they will receive authority for 1 hour. Of course, these are all symbolic, but it will be brief. It will be short. They will make war, but they will be conquered. So could be encouragement for those who are suffering. But for, the Laodicea, the rich church, they would probably need to be more alert of whose side are you really on. Because there's only two sides in this vision. It's quite black and white. Let's focus on the key verse, the underlined portion. I mentioned this in the Bible study. I don't know if you agree with me. But what do you make of the word choice here? They'll make war on the Lamb. Why is Jesus referred to as the Lamb?
Weak and insignificant.
So what can we learn from that? I'll let you reflect. Daniel? Or we can go back to that one. Yeah, lambs are weak, especially compared to beasts that have horns and multiple heads. They will make war on the lamb. What does that tell us about strength, power, what God looks at? How does this shape our perspective and our values?
Like God blesses those that are humble.
Yeah, and usually the lamb metaphor refers to how Jesus died, his crucifixion. So the way that he conquered the world on the cross was through being faithful unto death, which doesn't look like conquering, but that is staying faithful to God. And that is what is highly valued here, rather than brute force, like these other kings, what they demonstrate. So I thought during the Bible study that this war is preceding the next one, where the 10 horns finally turn around and kill the woman. I have changed my mind since then, because it is true that, do you guys remember, earlier the beast was described as being allowed to wage war against the saints and kill them. So I thought, hey, it makes total sense that there's going to be a war described here, since this could be the same beast. Or just in general, that's how the empire works. They wage war against the saints. They're allowed for a time to kill, but true conquering is shown by being faithful to the truth even unto death. So I thought, nah, this isn't foreshadowing. But then I've changed my mind. It's not a big detail, but I was thinking the mention of the lamb's presence seems to indicate that this is foreshadowing, because earlier it didn't say that the beast wages war against the saints and the lamb. So there could be a distinction. That's a minor detail. Because either way, whether this war is waged in the sense of paradoxically dying for your faith, or this future war, it's the same. How you wage war isn't by acting like violent people and repeating the mistakes of Christians when they were killing during the Crusades. So this is the last part. We're almost done. Actually, before I ask this question, any questions on the text before I ask my own question? Daniel, this is the first time you've read. Any questions? Then I'll ask you one. It says in the middle paragraph, God has put it into their hearts to carry out his purpose. Whose hearts?
Beast.
Close. Joshua?
Babylon.
Hmm?
Babylon.
Your answer is similar. So notice that it's plural. God has put it into their hearts. So,
Followers of the beast. I guess followers of the beast.
it's a little better. It's at the beginning of the paragraph. The 10 horns. And maybe we went too quickly. The 10 horns represent 10 kings, probably vassal kings, since they were given authority, not born with it. So the little powers, they finally punch up and destroy the prostitute woman. So they are carrying out God's purpose. God has put it into their hearts to carry out his purpose. And this is the judgment of the woman. Remember how the passage began? I will show you the judgment of the prostitute. So how is this woman judged? Well, through a surprising instrument of God, which is the very people that she controlled, or tried to control, ended up failing. So evil gets destroyed by evil. You didn't really have to do anything. God put it into their hearts to carry out his purpose. How, I guess you could say this question is for the entire passage, not just the ending. But how does knowing that God will bring justice affect how we live today?
Like from like a sense of hope to like stay faithful.
Yeah, I think so too. I have a few other reflection questions. I don't think we have that much time. I think, for me at least, the part where the angel corrects John for marveling at the beast, if we take that in a sense of he was, at least for a period, amazed and impressed by this depiction of Babylon, though it is kind of satirical, a little insulting because she's drunk. But there could be things we could learn from that. What values, patterns that we shouldn't be copying? Do we catch ourselves repeating? Yeah, so for the sake of time, let's just memorize this verse.